There is a growing body of research that illuminates the importance of students having teachers that look like them, of having educators that can relate to their lived experiences and who know what to say to encourage them to be their best. And yet, so much still needs to be done in order to fully bring this vision to life. So if we believe that cultural differences are to be celebrated and embraced, well, then that shows up as we develop curriculum. It shows up as we invite stakeholders. It shows up as we set policy. It shows up in every facet of what we do. When students share commonalities with their teachers, whether it be race, gender, or upbringing, teachers seem to make an even greater investment in their education. Students feel cared for and supported. We have more students of color in gifted programs and more that want to go to college. They have fewer disciplinary infractions and find school more interesting. Why? Because they have educators with whom they can identify. So we see the value and the importance of having a faculty that demographically represents its student population. All across our nation, there are disparities impacting our student and educator populations. And so many of our Black and brown educators are leaving the profession or not even entering. This is happening for a range of reasons, whether they be financial or cultural, feelings of isolation, a lack of leadership opportunities, or decision-making input. For some, the commitment to work in tougher schools, because that is where they feel they can have the greatest impact. We need to foster culturally affirming school environments and acknowledge teacher identities, regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity. In order to uplift, mentor, and retain teachers of color effectively, we must understand the barriers, the obstacles that they're facing in education. In part one of this series, we focused on what schools can do to create more inclusive environments for Black educators. Now, let's examine a process that allows states and districts to create a locally driven evidence-based action plan for improving the diversity of their educator workforce. School, state, and district leaders shape the policies that impact the educator workforce. And in order to revise these policies using an equity lens, these leaders should analyze their local data to identify where and when gaps are occurring along the educator career continuum.
We track our stats, and prior to our hiring season, we take a look at our vacancies. We take a look at what is it that who left, who retired, who left, and who were they? Were they male? Were they female? Were they white? Were they Black? Who were they? And then we always take a look at where our student population is, and we figure out how are we trying to recruit. We don't limit our candidates, but we are clear about where we're striving.
And in order to effectively address the gaps in our data, we do need to understand why they exist. We can do this by examining the root causes in existing policies and practices using an equity-focused perspective. This will allow us to concentrate on the identified root causes by developing evidence-based strategies and implementation models that address disparities and gaps reflected in our data. Choosing the most appropriate strategy is crucial. It's important to understand that each state and district has a unique situation, and therefore, an approach should be tailored to best address those needs.
I talk to department chairs talk to their departments. We have diverse hiring committees. We don't just have a few people hiring. It's important to have diverse hiring committees because it's important to understand you can't continue to hire just people who look like you. So when in fact you're talking about retaining, you have to first look at your environment to figure out, why do Black teachers want to come to you in the first place? Do they want to come to you in the first place? If they do, why is that? Keep that up. And if they don't, examine why that is and fix that. And so when you talk about recruiting, you have to first prepare your space to be able to accept those people you're trying to recruit. That looks like having honest conversation with your leaders and saying, this is what we're going to be doing differently to accept different people into our culture, into our space. And that has to be genuine.
When we break down the data, when we work with states to break the data, to disaggregate it, to look at how the process is impacting different groups differently, then we can really engage in targeted strategies instead of kind of blanket strategies. Okay, if we just have a state mentoring program, then it may not really target those places that need mentoring. But if we have a specific mentoring program that is designed to remedy inequities in the workforce and to specifically accommodate the need of novice Black teachers, then perhaps we would start to see differences. It is oftentimes that we analyze the data, we come up with the strategies, but we're not implementing them in an intentional way that really targets the root cause of the problem.
And after the implementation of the evidence-based strategy, it's vital to monitor progress and to continuously improve where we can.
And so what I would say to districts and HR people out there in particular, it's not just about the teaching. It's about the whole human being. It's about the family. It's about the benefits that you offer. It's about how you talk to people. It's about how you listen to people.
A one-size-fits-all solution cannot adequately address the inequities in education. So it is imperative that we use data to identify gaps and racial biases in education and examine the root causes in existing policies and practices in place. And by doing so, we can create tailored strategies based on evidence so that we're tackling local issues, avoiding initiative fatigue, and implementing policies and practices that are specific to addressing the needs of each unique situation.
We really have to think about a comprehensive solution of looking at our profession, looking at the biases that are embedded in our profession and changing it in a way that allows this new group of teachers to be part of it as well. And I think that would really have a huge impact on retention because it would get at the root causes and address them in a way that would have impact for a long term.
To learn about strategies for creating inclusive workplaces and to access resources from REL Midwest related to this video, please visit our website.